97 Out of Box. This is DJ Eric, one part of the Big Throw and Eric show. Right now you're tuned in to Tea with Monroe. Ooh, sex, love, scandal, harassment. Oh, you get the tea right now. Tea with Monroe podcast. You're officially tuned in.
That was not a sneak attack.
What's up, guys?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tea with Monroe. Welcome back. You glad to be back?
Yes, I am. I am so glad.
You're so stupid. I am so happy to be back. We missed you guys last week. A couple things was going on. I had a little minor procedure done. My son had surgery. My daughter was sick. My mommy was here. And I was just not in the best frame of mind, body, and spirit to record. Plus, I couldn't talk. It hurt to swallow. It hurt to breathe. I had an EGB. Is that what it's called?
I'm
EGB?
sorry about that.
You sorry about what?
Nothing.
I had an EGB, which, they go down your esophagus into your stomach and see all the damage that the acid has done. If you suffer from GERD or acid reflux, which I have a very severe case of it. So, yeah. So, I was not able to record last week. And I'm back and I'm happy and living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you ninjas. That is my song. Little Duval did that. You know he like 40? They was talking about that. And he won. They said on the BET Awards that he performed his ass off.
Oh, you think Snoop?
Well, but look how young Snoop started.
Oh, he just got
He
started.
just started, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And kind of like, what's the other guy? 2 Chainz.
2 Chainz
Living
been
my
out for a
best
while.
life. Yeah, but he has, but I didn't
No.
know 2 Chainz until
I
he
know 2
became
Chainz.
2 Chainz.
Well, I know.
Fucking problems with A$AP Rocky, so I didn't really know him.
I know him a little bit.
I didn't know
He
him
was
at all.
in another group. What was it? Paper.
I know. Yeah, I read about him when he first came out. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about, but I just,
he
I
probably
didn't.
His 30s then, but he had a hit song out in another group.
Living my best life. Well, I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about Little Duval, but that's my jam. Living my best life. Now the lyrics all don't apply, but that hook.
Yeah, that's a hook.
It's everything. And Snoop Dogg just got that charisma that he just added to smile, bitch. Smile, bitch.
Actually, that song goes with Snoop Dogg. A lot of songs don't go with Snoop, but he make it his own thing.
Yeah.
But that one actually went with him.
Yeah, he doing his thing. So for those of you, I know you guys missed me. Sorry, I had to keep y'all hanging for a couple weeks, but definitely check out last week's episode, What Women Want and Confuse Men. I had the ladies from the Reigning Opinions podcast, Carmen Gray and Crystal Clear came through, and also Wayne Stevens to talk about what women want. It was a very, very, very
and we are still confused.
what can I say? It was a very good conversation. We had to clear the air about some misconceptions about the podcast. 2 podcasts before that about what men want, where Wayne came in and he weighed in, speaking for himself, not collectively of all men, but sort of kind of. He was on that episode now.
Well, he was pretty much saying what he believed. That's all you can do.
Yeah. And Carmen Gray and Crystal Clear was like, we ain't having that. All that mansplaining he was doing, we wasn't having that. So we came back together, reconvened.
Y'all triple teamed him when I wasn't here.
No, we didn't triple team him.
That's what it sounds.
We did not triple team Wayne. Wayne cannot be triple teamed. But he definitely had to stay on his A game. Yeah, because, Carmen wasn't having that. But I want to thank those ladies for coming through my podcast. It was my first time meeting them. It was such a good podcast, I thought. I think we said a lot. I don't want to rehash it. Definitely check that out. It was last episode, What Women Want and Confuse Men. And before that was What Men Want. So definitely check that out. Okay. So what have we been doing since we last recorded? We went to the Drake concert.
Yeah, went to Drake.
How was that for you?
yeah, that different time era, So, when I see Drake and I hear the songs now, I'm like, you know,
But in general, the ambiance, the atmosphere. I mean, we had the Amigos
no,
there.
it was good. I just felt like I was a little bit out of place.
Did you?
Just a little bit, not a lot, because to me, I mean, I still listen to rap music, so I mean, I still listen to the current radio stations. When I do listen to music, it's just that, you know, um, I don't know. I just didn't. I just felt a little bit out of place. I felt like, you know, just I was older than it. I mean, I can't say I was older than
No,
everybody.
you were not. I saw some people.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm just not I'm not a hip hop like. I'm a more like an old school hip hop dude. I like,
So it had to been UGK or Too
Yeah,
Short
I
or
would've
something.
felt
What's the other little local Houston rap group that you like? We went to that concert. It was UGK.
Ghetto Boy. No,
Was it? No. They had all these old school rappers, country, like from Houston and like who's Too Short? Not from here, is he?
Nah, he not from here.
Yeah,
But
anyway.
I remember that concert, but I just don't remember who were like.
But
the
just who you
headliners.
like. But who you like. Just name people who you like. So I'm pretty sure they were there.
Yeah, like
Bun B.
Yeah, Bun B. I like Bun B. I like a lot of Houston old school rappers, and then I like even West Coast. I like old school period, no matter where it was. But I don't really like that East Coast.
Is
That East
Drake
Coast?
not East Coast? He from
No,
Canada.
no. I don't like that East Coast. I'm just telling you, that old school East Coast, I really don't like it. Nowadays, all the music all sound the same.
It does. You can't understand a thing
No,
anybody's saying.
I don't mean it all sounds the same as far as, it all sounds the same.
Lyricism. I think it does.
I mean, what I'm saying is it all sounds the same as far as, they all. You can't tell what side where it's from. You just can tell
Right.
that's West Coast music.
Right.
You just can tell that that's a Southern. You just can tell that that's East Coast or Midwest or whatever it was. But you really, to me, I can't tell it anymore. I can't hear the distinction. It was like
And that's how it should be, because a lot of people are
Right.
bi-coastal. They are
Right,
from
right.
one area, and and I think music should transcend through different
right
East Coast, West Coast, South.
I remember when
Country music, country grammar, whatever.
Yeah, there was an era where something happened after Lil Wayne and Drake and all of those guys. Like Lil Wayne, they just kind of made it all sound the same. Everybody started imitating that.
And they out of New
Orleans style. Yeah,
right.
they started imitating that style. No, you can tell New Orleans. You can tell Houston. You can tell Memphis. You can tell West Coast. You can tell people.
You could tell Florida music, booty. Yeah, we was that booty shake music.
Now you can't really just
I personally though, I don't like. I'm not a rap person.
Right.
I like rap. I like Drake.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to a concert in years. So a concert like that, I've been to the little local concerts that we've been through, but just something to this magnitude where it's Drake. I haven't been to anything like that in a very long time, because we didn't go to the on the run tour with Beyonce and Jay-Z. So Drake came after them.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. I mean, for me personally, it was a young crowd. And honestly, what I like about it was very diverse, because on the first section that we sat in, I was just really surprised. It was hardly any black people. It was like it was other nationalities, not even white.
That's when you done
crossed over.
all different ways.
Yes. And that was cute. I had on my see-through shirt and my shredded shorts and my boots and everything. So I felt like I fit right in. I like Drake. I thought, now the Migos, I only know like less than a handful of songs. I like them because
I don't know what they be saying, but
And honestly, I did notice that nobody was really performing. They was just like really walking around. It was Quavo, to me, from when I was paying attention, who was doing most of the songs. The other two were just, bouncing around. I didn't really hear a whole lot from them. I didn't really engaged. Now, don't get me wrong. The crowd was hype. The Amigos they were popping, I guess, because the crowd was hype and everybody was going crazy.
Yeah.
The kids knew their songs. I just didn't know them. When we went to the VIP section, I kind of felt a little more my age, I think.
Yeah,
even though they weren't quite in my age group,
let's
they were
say-
older.
So we had a lot of Rap-A-Lot people in VIP
Right.
that were part of the Rap-A-Lot family.
Right.
We had what was that girl,
Megan Good from
Megan Good.
Not Megan Good. Oh shit! Sorry, Megan Good. What's the girl from Bad Girls Club?
Yeah, Megan, I saw her up there. I saw her.
Yes, I think she was checking me out.
Yeah, probably. Oh, she was checking me out. trying to
Probably.
check you out.
I heard she
Checking-
swing for both teams, so she probably was checking us both out. Okay.
You heard what? Now she allegedly she doesn't know that allegedly.
Well,
Allegedly.
Look, I have my sources.
Say allegedly.
You know, I'm gonna do a podcast on allegedly. Allegedly, she swings for both teams. I don't want her coming for me because she like to fight.
That's right.
And I'm old, but I will fight. But I don't want to fight Megan.
And obviously, she's living in Houston right now. I think she's from Houston.
Is she? She may
think
be.
She is, maybe. Something
So
like
we went to the VIP section. It was more of a older, like I said, not necessarily in our age group, but just older ambiance. So I felt a little bit more comfortable. But I have to say this because great Drake actually put on a very good concert. For it not to have a lot of bells and whistles and all the
They have a
no.
lot of
I'm talking about like on the Run concert. I heard it was just like
a lot of fireworks.
yeah. I mean, it was a lot. It was a big production,
Yeah.
and for him, that's how you know. Not to say Beyonce and Jay-Z is not talented, but do you just to see somebody on a blanket stage just with
Okay, well
lights
there's
and
a
different
connection. There's a connection with your audience.
right.
So I feel like when they doing a concert and they people singing their songs and they love, it's like I say something, you say some type of thing. It's almost like that. So I don't know. It was really.
Who you talking about, Drake?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
and
Drake-
he interacted with the crowd.
Right.
He would have us singing songs like you said.
Right.
He sung a lot of songs that
Hadn't heard in a while, but
hadn't heard and wasn't his. I mean, he did some Michael Jackson stuff. He did a lot of
I
stuff.
didn't hear Michael Jackson.
Yes, he did. He did some. Yeah, he did a lot of stuff out there. So he did other artists. What is it called? Not recordings, but songs. It's another. It's another word. The term they use for it. Catalog. He did a lot of artist catalogs, and I just think he interacted with the crowd and his smoke and mirrors and stuff. I mean, he had smoke and he had flashing lights. He had the stage looking like an iPhone. You could the girls swimming in the pool. Like, I mean, he had different things. But honestly, I didn't pay attention to any of that. I paid attention to him. He was very good with his audience. Now, I have to say that a lot of the older songs, I didn't necessarily know.
I think I knew.
It's been a while.
Better.
Well, I didn't. I like because his new
Drake
CD.
been around a while now.
He has. It was a great concert. My son-in-law, DJ Eric. Shout out to DJ Eric from 97.9 The Box. He treated us, and we had a great time. We had a really good time. We was with the kiddos. My niece came down from Florida. My daughter flew her down, and she was able to go to the concert. We didn't get to meet Drake like we thought we would because it was a line. So he kind of like
backstage
dodged us and did. But Drake, I'm still waiting on my T-shirt. My niece is still waiting on her T-shirt that we were promised to get. We didn't get that. So yeah, I'm waiting on it.
I'm sure he'll listen to this podcast and he'll get
Drake does listen to my podcast. Don't you, Drake?
Yes, he does.
Okay. So that weekend was eventful. The next day we went to see. Okay, I gotta make sure I get this right because this right here was something else. We went to go to this show presented by Deandra Chantel Speaks presents Monologues and Confessions. It's a night of truth and revelation. That happened on Sunday. And my hairstylist, Sharina Scott Powell, she was advertising and I asked her about it. She invited me. We bought tickets. We went. And when I tell you that was a show, That was a show. I have never ever been to any an event where it was a monologue. And honestly, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to expect. But if Deandra Chantel Speaks ever sponsors this, does this again, I'm there. I actually want to be a part of it. So anyway, we missed the first young lady, right? The second one was Sharina, where she talked about her
struggles with. I think she had. I think where did she begin? Was it with
her infertility when she had adopted her daughter, Taylor?
She had a situation, a medical situation, and so she went through adoption with her child, and and the struggle of that, and then she talked about, but it was being monologue. It was a
yeah, she did like rounds, like she was the fight of her life.
Fight, yes.
Yeah,
and then she talked about a struggle with breast cancer. Was it breast cancer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talked about that, and these are you acting out your life, and you talking about your life out in front of an audience of maybe like 100 people or 150 people.
Yeah, it's about that many.
Yeah,
maybe 200.
So, yeah, maybe even 200 people was there, and so it was just people getting to know your story. From wherever you begin it from. You can begin your story from childhood. And she's an identical twin, and with Sabrina, and they just had the same situation. It's a unique thing as far as they both had a situation dealing with what is it fertility.
Infertility. She's not able to have children, so she went through her story of adopting her daughter, and then she went into, because these monologues actually had a lesson, something that you walked away learning from that experience. And the last part of it was her talking about her breast cancer and how one of her very good friends who had been with her all her life actually questioned her illness and didn't believe that she actually had breast cancer, and how even though the fact that she had breast cancer was so traumatic and such, it wasn't easy for her. It actually gave her the ability to discern who was meant to be in her life and who wasn't.
Right.
So she cut some people loose. I mean, her illness. It was very enlightening. I didn't even know that part. And I talk to Sharina every few weeks because she does my hair, and I absolutely had no idea of her story. Right. And I really enjoyed it. Now, the second young lady, Rain Roberts, now she came out doing the drum like she was in a drill, like in the what was her story? I can't remember.
I remember it, but I kind of remember Sabrina's more because it was a friend, so you kind of remember their stories a little bit more. I don't remember that girl's. I remember her, and I remember some of the things, but I think her segment was to me, it was a little short. I think hers was. It was
short.
And then there was another lady. I know, but the reason I say that I remember hers more because it was kind of like whoa, kind of like woke everybody up.
So this is why I'm bringing this up. To support my girl Deandra. My first time meeting her. Her story, from what I understand, is what birthed this idea of this monologue.
Right.
But this young lady, Fatima Lane, a.k.a. Purple Rain, she is in a motorcycle club, from what I understand.
And she's a
hairstylist. Yeah. Okay, so let me just lay the scene out. She came in walking with her wedding dress on. And because, these monologues, you could, do props and different things like that.
Right.
And she's talking about how she got married at 20. Married somebody at 20 years old. Young. Had her first baby within those few years. Right. Young. She dropped the wedding dress. I'm just going to get to the story. Let me tell you something. This girl story was so powerful. And the moral of the story was forgiveness. Right. And her dealing with depression. Now, I have to say, she didn't speak a lot on depression, but when I talked to Sharina when I got my hair done the other day, a lot of them forgot what they rehearsed because they were nervous. They were nervous. So a lot of the story was missed.
Okay.
And because so let me just say this. She was married. She had her first baby. She had her second baby, and during the course of her having babies with her husband, she started having extramarital affairs because her relationship with her husband, she said, was boring. She was unhappy.
Well, she just always, just for some reason, she always had some dude on the side.
Well,
like she always had her ex.
She always.
But it was something with their relationship.
It was something with her relationship with her husband where she would seek out other men to have an affair with because she wasn't happy at home. The first guy, it was great. It was fun. He started getting feelings. She had to cut him loose.
Yeah, she never liked it when they got too.
Yeah,
like,
they got too
clingy.
attached.
Right.
They got too clingy. She cut him loose.
Right.
Guy number 2 came up. She was in a motorcycle gang. A motorcycle club. She met this second guy. Same thing. The sex was good. The relationship was popping, but then he got too close. She had to cut him loose.
Right.
Third guy came around. Now I'm condensing her story. Third guy came around, liked him a little more than she liked the other two, so much so that she wasn't using protection and that she ended up getting pregnant. Now her struggle now is who my baby daddy. So she trying to figure out who is the father of this baby. She didn't know because she was still having relations with her husband and with her extramarital affair.
Okay.
So she didn't know who the father was of this baby. And then
I think
she had the baby.
Right.
Her husband was with her through every step of that process because in his mind, it's my baby.
Yeah.
And so she had the baby. Everything is going what it's going. She's telling the guy she was messing around with, this is our secret. I guess she did a blood test. She did mention she did a blood test, and come to find out it was the extramarital affairs baby.
Right.
So they agreed to keep this a secret. It was a pact between the two. Right. But as years gone by, a couple years went by. Yeah, 2 years went by. She's feeling this guilt. Now, I couldn't tell if she was still messing with the guy or not. She didn't really elaborate. So she's feeling this guilt. And
I think she cut it off when she
told.
told.
Yes, I think she cut it off. So, okay, I know why. She went to her pastor and said, hey, I'm feeling this enormous amount of guilt. What should I? And she told her pastor everything that she had done up until that point. And the pastor's response was, in order to get past this, you need to be able to tell your husband this. And her first response was, wait a minute. I'm coming to you as a man of God to release this guilt, to say, I did these things. I want God to forgive me. How do I get there? And you telling me to blow up my marriage. That's not what I'm here for. But the pastor was like, this is what you need to do. So I'm asking, and this is a side note, I'm asking my husband. Was that the right thing to do for her, the pastor, to tell her husband? What you think?
That's a hard one to call because me as a man,
right,
I would want to know if that is my child or not.
Right.
Whether I stay or not, whether I decide to keep it between us or whatever.
Not as you as a man, you being a Christian and the pastor giving her the advice in order to make now for me,
he gave her correct advice.
So for me, this is a man talking because sometimes people feel like men who are in that type of position are biased because they're still a man at the end of the day.
He gave her the right advice.
Why?
Advice because she would always live a lie. She would never be able to. That would always be there. It's not going to change. He would still love the child or whatever, but I would not.
So you weren't thinking like you was just thinking
like because
I'm a man and I would want to know.
How would you? No, I'm not thinking that way. I'm telling you, he
gave
her the right advice.
No, you just said that before you even said that.
I understand what I'm with that, but I'm saying he gave her the right advice because she would be living a lie. It's just like,
but that's her lie to live.
It's just like a man having a child outside of his marriage.
But that's their life. They lie to live,
and never telling his wife that he has another child, he has a whole other family he's taking care of. Mm-hmm. No, that's not right.
I'm not saying it's right.
So I'm saying this.
When you go to outside people and people in the The pastor is a person.
He told her the right thing to do for you to be right with this. If you feel that bad,
Regardless of his own personal feelings about it.
If you feeling that bad, you got to come to me to talk to me.
Suppose he went through that with his wife.
If you come to me and you feeling that guilty that you come tell me this stuff,
right?
Then I'm going to tell you the only way you're going to feel really better about this thing
is to be honest about it.
To be honest about it. You feeling that guilty to come to me about it?
Well, of course, when you feel guilty enough to go to somebody that you feel like you can trust, and who can't share that information with anybody. Your pastor.
The only person you have to come to with something like that is
God.
But the point that I'm saying is, if you truly, you watching Yana. You watching Yana?
Fix my life.
What she said? Live in your truth.
Live in your truth.
It is that you did this.
Call a thing, is what she says.
What you did, and you need to discuss, and you need to say what you did.
Right.
That's really the only way you're gonna deal with that, because you will always be ducking and dodging. What if all of a sudden your child needed your blood for whatever?
Because she didn't know any. I'm assuming she didn't know any history about this guy, because it was a very short affair.
So my point is, what if that child got into an accident, needed your blood, you donated your blood, and you not the match, and you can't be the father. I've actually not seen a show like that where that's what happened, where somebody got hurt, and that's what ended up happening. It's like, whoa,
I can imagine.
That's how they find it out. So you don't want that. So no, the pastor told her the right thing, and as a man, tell me the right thing. Do never deceive me, something like that. I would rather be able to make a choice. I hear women always say,
I always say that. I've said that. I know what you're getting ready to say.
But I hear women, period. Well, if somebody, I want to know. If you,
let that be my decision if I want to stay or go. I know what you mean. I'm just asking the question.
Or if you getting approached, somebody trying to approach you, don't be playing games with me. Let that be. If they trying to do this, I think I even heard you say that. Somebody come at you a certain way when you was trying to date, you didn't want nobody coming at you. If you just trying to get with me for a few,
if you just want to fuck, let's just fuck. Don't be trying to deceive me as if you think you want to have me thinking this is more than what it actually is. Just tell me, call it what it is, and
I say all that.
Well, I'm just saying, don't come at me as if you want to be in a relationship knowing you just want one thing. Just be honest, because I may just want that one thing too. So I get what you're saying. Yeah. So back to the story. So the pastor told her, in order for her to be truly whole and absolve herself of this guilt, or to at least try to work towards healing this entire thing, she needed to be honest with her husband, because she was still with her husband. So she called her husband in for a session with the pastor, and she told him. She told him about number 1, about number 2, and number 3, and the baby. And he said, what did the husband say? That's my baby.
Yeah, he loves her.
I love you. That's my daughter.
And he's there for her.
And I'm going to be there for you. We're finna work this out. So they cried, kumbaya, hug, whatever, and skipped off into happiness. So life is going on. She's working. It was a period of time where she was trying to contact her mother and was not able to contact her mother. She couldn't even focus. She couldn't do her client's hair. She couldn't move past.
She talked to her mother every day.
Yeah, she talked to her mom every day, and she wasn't able to contact her mother. She was calling other family members. Nobody could get in contact with her. Nobody could get into the house. So finally, somebody said, we all meeting at mama's house, and we calling the police. Now, the backstory to this is, I found out from Sharina's, what she was supposed to tell everybody was that her mother was on drugs. Okay. And she had died of an overdose. Okay. And she had been dead in the house for some time. I don't know what period of time, but I only can imagine for a few days. If you talk to your mom every day.
Allegedly,
we don't know. This is the part of
hear from her story.
But so I went to the salon and got the scoop. So anyway,
that's allegedly.
So she went to her mom's house. Right. The fire department went in through the second story window, found out what they found, came out through the front door, would not let her in the house because they said your mother is no longer with you. and they didn't want her to go in the house, I guess, because they didn't know.
Yeah, they ain't gonna let you.
They ain't gonna let you in because, of course, they gotta let the police in first to
Right.
discern whether if this is a crime scene or whatever. So she lost her mother, which threw her into a severe depression.
Right.
Where once again, she felt that she wasn't getting what she needed at home, and that's the first place that she was unloyal to because that's just her pattern. She found number 4. Number 4 preyed, in my opinion, preyed on her unhappiness and her probably oversharing about her life and said, "You're not happy at home. You should really be with me." He convinced her, according to her story, that she should be with him. She packed up all her shit, left her stuff, left her husband, and left her 3 children, and went to go live with affair number 4. They had been living together. Things got tumultuous. What's the word?
Tumultuous.
Yeah. It got... They had a little struggle going on. I don't know if it was abusive or not, but that's what it seemed to me she was alluding to. Whether it was verbal or physical, I don't know.
Once a guy done isolated you from everything, your family like that.
Yeah, they could do anything to you.
Yeah.
Now her mom's gone. She's isolated herself from her family. She said that she wanted to call her husband because she was still married and to tell him that was her friend. He was still a friend to her. To tell him what was going on, but she didn't want to hear "I told you so." So she went to her mother's grave, fell on her mother's grave, talked to her mother, and she said her mother spoke to her that day and told her, "You need to get your shit together."
Yeah.
And when her mother said that to her, that's when she went home, packed up all the guy's crap in the apartment, kicked him out. She called her husband and told her husband what had been going on up until that point, and this husband still
Took her back.
Listen, he still was supportive, talked her through it, listened to her, and said, "You know what? I still love you." You know, stuff happened. He was a friend to her. He didn't say "I told you." He was a friend to her.
Right.
So at this point in the storytelling, she pulls the drape off of the easel, which shows a family portrait. And then she turns and looks my way at me and you, because we're sitting in that direction. And she started walking towards our direction saying, "I'm sorry. I love you.
Right.
I've done all these things. And you've always been so supportive of me. I'm sorry. Would you forgive me?" I'm paraphrasing because she said a little thing. "Would you forgive me?" And you whispering.
I didn't even know that was him sitting in front of her.
Her husband and her 2 older children, because the daughter is in her 20s and the son is in his teens, they were sitting right in front of us. And so she walks over to him. Now, by this time, I'm shedding tears because
we on the second row, I think, and he was on the
first row. He was on the floor because there was the VIP tickets.
Right.
And I am literally crying because I'm like, "Oh my God, this story."
Right.
She walks to him, gets his hand, stands him up. She's looking up into him. He's looking down at her like, "This my baby." She looking up like, "This my knight in shining armor." And he forgives her. Because up until this point, we didn't know to the end that this was recent.
Yeah,
this was within a 2-week period of time.
Was that a 2 week?
Well,
I thought it was like a 2 month.
Okay, it was within a 2 months period. Yeah. She may have said 2 months. She may have. I correct. She may have said 2. This was fairly recent because her mom hadn't passed that long ago. It was within a few months. And when I tell you, I dropped I don't put my purse on the floor for nothing. I dropped my purse, my umbrella. Everybody in the stands stood up and gave them a standing ovation. Then every single man except for my husband and the few that was sitting up in the nosebleeds walked down to the floor and shook that man's hand.
I just couldn't.
You know why they shook his hand? Because they would say, "Better you than me." Because it couldn't be me.
Maybe that's why someone was saying
or you's a bad man.
Someone saying
or you's a good man.
He was showing what
a godly man. You think?
Well, if he represents that, if that's why he was doing it, then that's what it is. So what I mean by that is, if he was a religious, godly man, and that's what he was doing,
Right.
was saying, I'm doing it because that's what Christ would do,
Right.
then that's what it is. Now, if he did it because he just loved this woman, see, that's love. That's love too. What Christ would do. That's love.
Yeah, because honestly,
that's
if you
love.
think about it, everything up until that point was Christ-like, because
Right.
you don't find too many men forgiving you,
Correct.
let alone with
So
one
if
affair.
that was
Before,
love, if that was love, the way Christ would do it, and you did it because you love Christ, that's still love.
right?
If you just emotionally just can't help but just love this woman,
Right.
that's still love. You understand what I'm saying? So, so both of them showed example of love to me.
How so with her?
Because he loved her. He loved her.
Uh-huh.
So it was the love. That's okay. Christ loved us. We hurt him all the time.
Right.
We commit adultery on him all the time, and he still loves us.
Right.
So that was the example I took from it. And then that's what a lot of guys looked at shaking his hand about, but I didn't, because I was like, I know that's right, but I don't know if I could deal with that 4 times. I could deal with it once, maybe even twice. I mean, maybe. I mean,
that's a hard maybe.
Yeah, one time, people can do things.
2 times is pushing it.
No. 2 times. For me, I don't think I have.
But did you look at the bigger picture of her emotional instability and the fact that, and I was even talking to Sharina, the fact that she got married at 20 years old, like she didn't live.
No, I totally get all that, but I'm gonna tell
And
you,
he looked like he was an older guy.
the problem I have with emotional instability, I believe that could be real.
It's mental
I
illness.
believe it. No, hold on. I believe it, but I cannot say that I can accept it as an excuse. I can't say that, because I think even then, because it's not fair when a guy go out and do it. It's not fair when a woman do it. It's not fair when anybody does it.
It's not okay.
fair to the person that
Take
it's
fair.
done to.
Take nothing is fair. Take fair out of it.
You may have,
but
okay.
She clearly, even through her process of telling this story, you could tell that something was wrong with her. You could tell. Now, we didn't know the backstory about her mother being a drug addict. Now, we don't know why she got married, but to get married at 20 years old, that's a young age to get married. So you are marrying to leave a situation. Wouldn't you, now say for instance, if you was 20 and married somebody, wouldn't you be leaving a situation, trying to get out of it, to be married that young?
I'm going to say this.
You didn't answer my question.
I want you to hear me. I'm going to answer your question. This is where I think on this. If you are married, and you're married to me, and you say it's mental illness, you have enough common sense to do everything.
That's
else.
not
Hold
true.
Hold on. Listen to me. Let me speak.
Not true.
If you have enough common sense to do all other things you want to do, and you have enough common sense to keep that from me, to manipulate it, to control it, to orchestrate it, to maneuver through it, and do all of these things, you have enough, and you know that it's wrong, and you living a life, you having fun, you partying, you doing all these things, then to me, your mental illness is subjective. It is.
No.
Hold on. Let me get this out, because I'm not saying that it's not a mental illness, but what I'm saying is, you making sure you're trying to protect me to some degree for your own benefit. It ain't for his benefit. You was protecting me, not because you didn't want to hurt me, but because you didn't want to mess up the situation that you have.
That's a rational thinking person right there.
Okay, well.
Now you know.
But if I'm the other person,
all,
I don't want to be the person that is being done.
First of all, common sense is not that common. Okay? And how people rationalize their bullshit is not always subjective. You know what I'm saying? And if you are dealing with a true mental illness, which just based on her story and some of the things that she did share, which I actually think she was. This is why
What are you diagnosed with?
I would say would be bipolar, because when you do stuff like that is clearly where you are, first of all, cheating over a course of a period of time. First of all, maybe because he ain't going nowhere or whatever. Because even though you suffer from mental illness, it doesn't absolve you of your sense. It doesn't. It just makes you that more reckless. And when you are bipolar and you're manic, one of the biggest things that you are is reckless. That was reckless behavior. The fact that she was having unprotected sex and had a baby and was still having sex with her husband, that's reckless.
It's reckless enough that you're very strategic.
I don't think she was strategic, because if you remember correctly, not only was she cheating, she was riding around with a motorcycle club in public, clearly having a public affair. She was out there in the club. She said she went through a period where she was balling out in the clubs, hanging out, doing whatever she wanted to as if she was not married. To me, he could have walked in wherever she was and found out what she was doing. Now, part of me feel like he didn't want to know. He didn't want to know. There's no way in hell.
He probably had no idea because he wasn't.
How can you not have no idea? Your wife is never home.
Because you trust your wife.
No.
She's part of the motorcycle gang. I don't want to be part of the motorcycle
gang.
A lot of dudes, and I'm just be straight with you. A lot of dudes could be naive to the fact that they like. They just don't think that their wife go out there and do that. I'm just telling you.
I have to believe in my spirit that he knew all her behavior was not correct behavior. You saw that girl. She was built very nice, very shapely.
Yes, she was. What?
She was clearly younger than him, moving fast.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that he thought that she would be, because he
knew.
No, I'm telling you.
You a man, seriously. You wouldn't.
I'm serious, and if you feel like you can, a woman can manipulate. They make the husband feel like I'm so safe, so secure. I'm going to hang out with my girls. I'm going to have a good time. Oh, we get this. Oh, John said this. Smitty said this. And their husband be like, oh, she telling me all about her friends. She do this. She ain't with a girlfriend. They go out. They show me some pictures. And he has no idea because he's not intimately involved in her
his lifestyle like could have been a little different than hers. I grant
he
it.
Could be a home dude.
I grant you that, but you cannot make me believe this man sat in this house over a period of years, over 4 affairs, and did not suspect not one damn thing.
After the third one, he surely knew then.
Because she finally said it.
Because guess what? John, she could talk about it every day. And guess who John is? Her boyfriend. She talk about John all the time. She talk about Smitty. She talk about Jack. She talk about Jane.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike.
Right. And guess what? He just never really would have thought that Jack is the dude.
But let's just get back to the mental illness thing. And I'm not saying that's always a defense for anything, because we use it as a defense to do all kind of crimes, to do all kind of things.
Right.
But what I'm saying is,
you will go to prison.
It's a consideration to think about when somebody is that reckless. At the sentencing, when the judge sentences the person who has clearly no sense of,
don't know right from wrong, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, but guess what? She knew right from wrong.
Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. See, this is the problem I have with this. We don't know her full story. We only got a clip of her story.
Let me explain this, though.
You don't know what it was like living in that house with her mother
Let me explain.
Being a parent. Listen. You don't know what it was like for her as a child being a parent to her mother. Because that's the story that I received on the back end.
I want you to understand.
And you don't. And then she's looking for somebody to finally take care of her. And when
she committed a crime,
and she wasn't, if she
committed a crime, I want you to know this. And she tried to cover it up. The fact that she tried to cover it up shows you that she understood what she did and what she was doing.
Okay, you're right. A mental illness does not absolve you of rational thinking in all cases, because some mental illness is worse than others, where you have a person who thinks they're a completely different person and just doing shit that just have no clue. They just emotionless, don't have any a sense of emotion or empathy or anything for anybody, just doing things methodically because they just crazy. You got people like that. But you got people out here on a day-to-day basis who are dealing with some very traumatic. Everybody handles stuff differently. You as a man may not respond, or even me as a woman may not respond to what's happening in her life like she's responding to it. Clearly something, to me, people don't go out and just do shit like that because they got sense. Something is missing for me. You know, because even through the story, she knew she had a good man. She knew everything he brought to the table. He was not only financially supportive, he supported her through everything she went through, but she still did that bullshit. So something in me has to believe that something was off.
I believe something may be broken in her.
Something was broken.
Hold on. Let me explain this though. I'm not saying nothing you're saying is not correct. What I'm saying is it doesn't justify, the ends doesn't justify
to me it does.
And let me tell you why I say this.
And to her husband it does. He forgave her.
Well, let me tell you why it doesn't for me. Because he forgave her because he loved her and still wanted to be with her, or he was doing something, that's the only reason that he could have done that he should have done that. Maybe he felt for the kids or whatever, who knows. But the point is that she is she did things out of her own selfish reasons. Now, it could be mental illness. Let me say it's mental illness. But I'll give you his mental illness. Let's say she was broken some sort of way, her mother, relationships, who knows, past guy relationship, got married too early. Whatever it is she did that was mental, that made her mental in the way that she just had to go lay up and do whatever. I'm not saying I'm not trying to down her. I'm not going to talk about her the bad way. But I'm saying is the fact that she did that was more of a decision. It was a straight up decision. Now, she may be mental. Let's say she did it once. She did something. But say, I'll never do that again.
Right.
To me, that would have been a mental illness situation. She did something. She realized she did never want to do it again. So she's going to go make sure she gets some type of, I'll never do it again. But she had a full-fledged relationship with each one of the 4 guys that she discussed over, looked like a 15-year period.
Right.
Okay? So that, to me, is not a mental situation.
Well, let me say this. I just want to be clear. I don't want people to think that I'm condoning bad behavior because a person is dealing with a mental illness. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that she or anybody deserves somebody to accept in their lives what they are only willing or able to give. Because I would understand if he said, you know what, I forgive you, but I choose to move away from this because it's not healthy for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I understand that too. And the fact that he forgave her, you just don't find too many men or people in general who loves like that, who loves you through your bullshit, through your...
What did you say?
I said bullshit. And I'm not saying that, I'm not making light of mental illness. Yeah. When I say bullshit, I'm just meaning in general, who love people that strong through their stuff. But when a person does suffer from a mental illness, you do not always think things through. You do not always make the best decision. You may know that you're doing is wrong, but guess what? Because of your mental illness, you can't do anything about it.
Okay. So
you are stuck. So listen. So that's why when people get on medication, one of the one things they always say, it makes them feel weird. It keeps them like a zombie, because you hit a brick wall when you're taking medication because you can't move naturally. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that tells me if you are suffering from a mental illness, you're doing stuff that are just completely out of your norm as an individual.
So
And I understand what you're saying. I get exactly what, and I'm not saying it should be an excuse, but it definitely should be a consideration when you are in a marriage
Right.
that you could potentially save if you had some compassion for that part of the person.
okay, so and I'm not taking away from what anything you said, but what I'm saying is as a as a person that has to make a decision about their life or about another person's life, you can take something in consideration. But you know, anybody can say that it was they was going through something. Let's say a guy. Let's just say it's a dude that was in a marriage and all of a sudden he felt something else. Somebody else came on him. Another woman came at him or whatever. He has to make a decision because something ain't wrong, ain't right at home. You can say that's a mental illness, and what I mean is what I mean is you can say, okay, well he wasn't feeling something at home. Things are changing. He may love her, he may love his wife, but this other person is providing a need that he need whatever this person is providing.
Men don't marry who they love; they marry who's there at the time when
But
they're ready to get married. So,
but that's an opinion. So when you sit there and they go and have an affair or whatever, now all of a sudden they feeling better. They had a wife and then they had that other person that's feeling that void. That's gonna be considered a mental illness.
well, you know what I
What
will
you're
say.
saying.
You know what I will say.
What's that?
If I see a man who is married to somebody and they're constantly making that same mistake over and over again, where they are having extramarital affairs, more than
You would
one,
say that person mental illness.
I would say so. I would say because to me,
So how does the person that keep accepting the person
they got something.
contributes to the mental
They're
illness?
enabling it. They're enabling it.
So
because okay, first of all, mental illness does not always let you know it's mental illness. It's something that has to be diagnosed, and it's something that you have to be familiar with to know. Now, I don't want to use mental illness lightly because I just feel like it's not rational for an individual. I don't care if you're a hoe or not as a man.
Right.
But if you're constantly seeking outside something or other,
Right.
but you're still trying to covenant what you got, something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. And it's bigger than being selfish.
Right.
It's bigger than that. So whether you
I
put it
agree.
under the umbrella of
No.
mental illness or something just
I
ain't
agree.
right with this
I
person,
agree.
something's wrong with that person.
I think that a person make decisions, but as the person is getting hurt in the process, they should have options. You keep hurting. You can't. I just can't. It ain't like this person just had an affair. It's like this person had a relationship, full-fledged, like.
But you think about what she said. The first
when they
guy,
get too close, when the two.
I gotta let this go. That's
Right.
not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for this. So she wasn't seeking relationship because she had a relationship.
Right.
She just wanted to
She seeks fun. She said she called it fun.
fun. She called
That
it.
was
She
her
labeled.
word.
She labeled it fun.
Right.
So it was a disconnect somewhere.
She needed fun outside of her marriage. That was the thing, because the marriage. Not all marriages are fun. I mean, just some people just aren't fun. Like,
And some people are on different levels of maturity.
Yeah.
She was 20. A 20-year-old girl getting married has not lived.
I agree.
Has not. I don't give a darn if you was a hoe from the age of 13 to 18. At 20 years old, you have not lived. You have not begun to.
And it ain't always got to do with sex.
But what I'm saying, I'm just making just letting you know, because some people think because you done slept around with a bunch of people, you don't. No, that's not living.
Right.
That's existing in whatever you think is normal for you.
Right.
That's not living. I mean, you need to get out there. You need to do some things outside of what's
right.
your normal. And that if you sleep with a bunch of guys, you need to do something different. Not sleep with somebody for 5 years and travel and do some soul searching, some self-healing, or whatever it is, and get your life.
5 years.
Whatever the case may be. I mean, if you don't hold for 6, why not?
That's true.
Unhold yourself for 5.
Even guys sometimes need to. Well,
Exactly.
guys put it like this. You supposed to, as a Christian, I am. You supposed to do the right thing. If you're not married, you don't supposed to be doing certain things. Not saying that I did all that correctly. I'm not saying that.
Nobody's perfect.
Right.
That don't mean you're not a Christian.
But yeah, correct. But that may be one person thing where it ain't another. People lie. Some people lie. Some people steal. They consider themselves Christians, or whatever else. But the whole point is that you're supposed to do certain things. You're supposed to not do certain things as to your belief system. And when you are married, you're supposed to not do certain things. You're just not supposed to do certain things as a married man or married woman. And so a lot of that has to do with, if you say it's mental illness, I say,
no, we're talking about her specifically.
Okay,
I think it's a situation by situation basis.
I agree.
I don't think people who going around being unfaithful to their person that they're with over a period can all attribute it to a mental illness. I'm just saying, I was just defending her case.
Okay, then I know this really got on a mental illness tip here, but are all mental illness long term? Can they? I'm just asking you because you know a little bit more about this than I do. But are all mental illness something that can be self dealt with, or is it?
I think so.
You think not all of them, but just some.
I think it's an individual. It's a case by case basis.
Without medication.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, just because they're dealing with a situation, don't necessarily need medication. I think it's a decision between you and your doctor. If you feel like something isn't right and you feeling something in you that's not right, you need to see a doctor. You need to be diagnosed appropriately. And typically a counselor, that's your first line of defense, is a counselor. They would tell you, you know what, I think you need to go see a psychiatrist who can dispense medication to see about, because whatever you're going through, we can't work through this without you being able to focus on this area. And, so I think it's an individual thing. And some people who may need medication may be able to work through the situation without medication. I think it's an individual thing.
So a person decides, I don't want medication. I'm going to work through. I know right from wrong.
But you have to know that. You have to know that you have a problem. You can't walking around in delusion saying, I don't have a problem.
Mostly impulsive then.
Yeah.
Most mental illness is because your brain your brain has been
You're not your brain. You're not creating a certain chemical in your brain,
or your brain is basically chemical.
It's a chemical imbalance. So if you know that you're not feeling right, that you're off, and you can't put your finger on, you go to a doctor and they say, okay, you need to go see a therapist, and you say, okay, your therapist like, well, yeah, I think you're depressed. You know what triggered this? I think it's like you figure out why you're depressed, what triggered it, what about the situation has you in this mind state. And I think from there you move on to determine whether you may or may not need medication, or whether you need short-term or long-term counseling to get through the process. Because some people, because anxiety, panic attacks, all that is a mental illness. It's a mental illness. People, I was listening to this young lady who is going to school to be a psychiatrist, and when she was in school, she developed panic attacks, anxiety, from being thrown into a different environment, the stressors of school, and so she started seeking therapy. She didn't need medication, but she used different things that her therapist was providing for her to help her work through the process of, this is your trigger. This is what you do. So, I mean, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. I would say that, you have to do what's best for you. I think it's between you and your doctor to know whether you need medication. Now, that's a personal choice. If it's something that you absolutely can't control, I mean, you need to at least research what all your options are before making a decision, because there's some people who, and we're going to do a podcast on this, so I don't want to get too much into it because I definitely want to do it.
We've done one before.
I haven't.
On this.
We haven't.
Yeah, we have.
No, we haven't. Not where we talk strictly about mental illness and.
Well, this was most of this.
Well,
This podcast.
we just touched on it, but personally, because I'm not ashamed of it. I suffer from depression.
Right.
I always have.
Right.
And if I look back over my life, I've been depressed since I was a kid. I just didn't know what the hell it was.
Right.
Now I could put my finger on it and say what it is. So I can call a thing, like Ilyana says. So I definitely want to have a very in-depth and maybe have somebody come on and talk about it who is equipped to talk about this stuff and give, because I'm not equipped, I'm not a doctor. Don't take my advice. Anything I say is from my own personal experience. So before we go any further, this past week has been a little chilly here in Houston.
Right.
And people have been talking about cuffing season. You know what cuffing season is?
Nope.
It's when during the summer months, you're fancy free, living your life, hoeing it up, not necessarily having sex, but hoeing it up, dating or having sex, just having a good old time, enjoying your life of single, or as like some of us like to say, the summer of hoe, and you're just having a good old time. But then when it gets cold, guess what everybody does when it gets cold?
They couple?
They go in the house. They go in the house. And when they go in the house, guess what? If you've been single all summer long and now here it is cold, you go in the house, you want somebody to be in a relationship with now because you want to cuddle, you want comfort food, comfort loving, companionship, because
so what did you do?
It's called cuffing season.
So what happens when the summer comes again? You
I
break up?
I guess
What is that?
I guess it just depends where you are. So during the fall and winter months, people who would normally rather be single or promiscuous find themselves, along with the rest of the world, desiring to be in a tied down, serious relationship during the cold winter months.
I got one thing to say about that.
What's that?
These people need to go to the doctor and get checked out, because it sounds like they got a little mental illness.
But the thing about it is, cuffing season is real. It's a real thing.
I believe it.
And it usually, like I said, starts during the winter months. I don't know nothing
about this cuffing season because I've been married for the last 20 years.
That's why you get cuffs year round. You always So this doesn't.
I've been married for the last 20 something. Yeah, I had a 3-year. I really didn't even have a break there, but I'm just saying.
So just thinking about this just real quick, because cuffing season is a very selfish concept. It's a very selfish concept, and I just want to talk real quickly about people who, if you desire and want to be single and be promiscuous, how fair is it for you to entrap or want to be in a situation where you're tied down through the winter months just for the sake of being, so you won't be alone? How fair is that? I mean,
people selfishly do that all the time. I mean, guys and girls, they're very selfish. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They think about themselves. They're not really worried about the other person. They're okay as long as that other person doesn't deceive them. They're okay as long as the other person doesn't win. It is what they feel on them. So they feel like that person lied to them, and just then they all upset. But if they're the ones in controlling that person, in love with it. Some people want people to be into them
more than they are into them,
right?
Into the other person, right?
So when they feel like, when they think of that person, and then they find that person doing something different, they don't know how to handle that. That is like the biggest insult, and they can't mentally take the fact that they are not as cared for or loved as much as the other person perceived or made them feel like they want to be in a relationship. But
I think cuffing season should happen only once. I can't say once in your lifetime, but once every so often, because if, it's just the weirdest thing to me to want to be single and fancy free, footloose and fancy free all through the summer. Then when it gets cold, you want to be coddled and hugged and somebody.
I don't think this is that. I don't think it's common. I mean, maybe it is a common.
It's
thing.
a new thing, everybody's labeling everything now.
Yeah, I think this is another label, like you said, like another trend or another movement. Giving it a name gives it power. You understand?
Yeah, and it has given it power, and it's actually giving people.
So people try to model it. I need
Yeah,
to give me
they're trying to
somebody.
model that lifestyle. But how
And-
do you?
and-
But
and
how do you
but that-
break up?
but
How
hold
do you
on,
break
hold on.
up?
This that more comes with a feminist type of movement.
Oh, here we go.
I really do believe that's a feminist move, and what I mean by that is, now that you done labeled it, gave it a name, that's something that a woman will do. Dudes ain't gonna look at the weather and say, "Oh, it's cold out here."
But it's not. It's not looking at the. It's a feeling.
I get what
Everybody,
you're saying.
everybody goes in the house when it gets cold. So when you go in the house when it gets cold, because if think about it, in the summertime, you could be out 24 hours a day. But when it gets cold, everybody tends to go in.
So what if you live up north?
Oh, is
You know
it
what I'm
cuffing
saying?
season? I
So
didn't think
if
about
you live
that.
in Canada, it's probably cool most of the time. And even when it's warm, you're gonna come out and you still gonna have a jacket on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know, but I don't know.
I think it's a feeling. You like crave companionship, to be with one person to kind of like carry you through the winter months. But again, you have to have, honestly, you need to be with somebody who's on, it's my advice. I'm married. You need to be on the same page.
I think what it is, they see a lot of skin. They see a lot of pretty people
But just give
dressed a certain way, and they want to be able to, like, well, and it's usually when you're not in love with somebody, you probably feel that way. Ooh, and then, but
if we could just give you any advice during this time of year, I just think if you do participate knowingly or unknowingly in cuffing season, I think you should be clear. Listen, let's get some advice. This is a relationship podcast.
Yes,
you need to be
advice.
Clear about your intentions. Let people know what this
that
is.
you just a weekend. I mean,
a
month,
winter relationship type
yes.
person. You're not looking for any.
And we're breaking up at the end of this month.
Soon as the sun comes out and the flowers bloom, we are done.
I'm back in hoe season.
It's the summer of hoe once. But we're making fun of this. But honestly, you need to be true about what your intentions are. Be honest with people and just say, hey, I'm not necessarily looking for a relationship, but hey, I would like to hang with you for the wintertime to keep warm and to rub our feet together.
And I believe that some people will do that. In our Facebook group, there was a question put out there.
What was it?
The question was, what was that question? It was, is it okay about being able to sleep with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to talk about this on the next podcast. I know we.
What's the question though? We'll talk about it next week.
It was like, can you sleep with somebody as a friends with benefits and not catch feelings?
Oh, that would fall perfect into cuffing season.
So when I say that, and I realized all the people that answered the question, majority of these people that answered the question were females. And I was thinking to myself, this is a lie. I don't believe
what was their answer? What was their answer first before you call them a lie? What was their answer?
That most of the women was like, of course, yes.
And I was one of them.
And
I've been single once.
I'm saying this. I don't believe that. And the reason I don't believe that.
Don't tell us why you don't believe. We're going to talk about this on the next episode. Okay. We're going to talk about being in a relationship. No, having sexual relations with somebody and not catching feelings. We're going to talk about soul ties, which we heard on a different podcast, which we're going to see how that ties into all of this. And what was your point in bringing this up?
We was just talking about
the
cuffing season, and then they just break up with the person. Like it's
and
to
like
me,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and I think it's like I see a lot of single women saying that because they must have something like that going on. Is what I'm thinking. If that's the case, I don't know. I don't know what they, but I see a lot of them saying that they can do that, and it's just like, oh, absolutely, of course, yes.
But we're gonna talk about this more. But you know what I think? Why women think they can do it, because we have to protect our heart. We have to protect our heart because it's much easier. It's much easier. And I put a post out there, I don't know if it was today or yesterday. It's so much easier for a man to have sex with a woman and walk away and act as if she's never existed than it is for a woman. So we have to condition ourselves to be like y'all because...
No. Because y'all control all of that. And
we don't if you don't give a shit about us. How we can...
I understand. Hold on. But y'all control who y'all let in and who y'all let out. So what I'm saying is when you let somebody in, a lot of times you already know that person may not be
We don't always know that.
You may not.
We don't know. Y'all good these days, especially when it's cuffing season. Cause y'all good. Y'all gearing up for the winter months. I gotta hurry up and end my summer of hoe with a bang and make this girl think that this is what this is during these winter months, so she can carry me through the winter month. Cause I want chili, I want this, I want that, and then when the summertime comes, it's deuces. So we have to protect that. Anyway, we're not gonna go too far with this. Thank y'all for tuning in. Okay, right?
Right.
And just real quick, if y'all don't have Audible, definitely get Audible. I have just downloaded Blend, The Secret to Co-Parenting by Alicia. Well, the forward is by Alicia Keys, but the book is written by Mashonda. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She was married to Swiss Beats. And
Alicia Keys.
No, Alicia Keys is Swiss Beats' wife now, but she was married. He was with
the author.
Yes,
married. Okay.
with the Swiss Beats, and they have
his ex-wife.
Yes, they have a blended family. Mashonda Tiffrey. I'm butchering her name, so sorry, such a beautiful young lady. But she wrote this book, Blend, and it's about how they brought their family together in a blended family, and the trials, the tribulations, and the struggles, and the success that they've achieved through time in this.
Wait a minute. I'm confused. Are you saying that she's
the author?
She's the author, but the blend was with who?
Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats, because Swiss Beats left her, went to Alicia Keys.
Okay, so her kids are in there.
And so she has a son with Swiss Beats, and she had to come to terms with being a blended, because this is the family now that vacations together. Remember I put the post out there about, would you vacation with your ex-husband and his wife with your young child? Would you go on vacation with them? And this was based on
when you rich, yeah, you can.
So you got to be rich to embrace that concept.
Actually,
everybody suppose she paid for herself.
No. There's people that do it. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm saying when you got money, you accept a little bit more of a lot of that stuff, because there's enough money that you don't have to. Okay, there's not a like, oh, why you buying her drinks? You know, why you know it ain't as much. You know, you got. You know, who knows what they do up there? www.audible.com/T with Monroe. Get your 30-day free trial and download your first book for free. Check out Blend. And also, Charlamagne the God is coming out with Shook, which is a book on his mental illness and his therapy. Everybody got a mental illness.
Everybody do. And I embrace mine. I hope you embrace yours. Good night.
But as you get older, people, mental illness actually do,
as you get older.
Yes.
What the hell does that mean? What's that got to do with it?
Well, I'm just saying the brain ages. And
that don't mean you have
chemical imbalances happen. And as you get older, you can get what do you get? Where you get where you can't remember.
What you going through right now? Dementia.
Yeah, dementia.
See?
And you can get Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. What's Alzheimer's?
Old time thinking. I don't know, but
Alzheimer's. Those are not mental illnesses.
Yes,
Alzheimer's and dementia.
If it's a brain, it's a brain.
Those are not mental. Those are the disease. Those are deterioration of the brain. Those are something different.
I think that's the same thing as a brain.
We'll talk about this on another episode.
We need to talk about mental illness.
I got fish in the oven, so we gotta go.
Okay.
We gotta go. Good night, everybody. He's so crazy. What the hell? I appreciate everyone who